guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Alondra. Before we get started, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it. And don't forget to watch my last video. I did a Kylie baby review, so if you haven't watched that, please go watch that. Today, I'm going to be talking about my labor and delivery story. I would go into my pregnancy and what that was like, but I kind of want to save that for another video and kind of talk about symptoms I had, kind of some tips, some strategies, some things that I used throughout my pregnancy. So I'm just gonna make that a whole different video. Overall, I had a healthy pregnancy. Eliza was healthy. She wasn't at risk for anything. I, however, was at risk for preeclampsia. My very first appointment, I went to the OBGYN and they sent me to the high-risk doctor. At the high-risk doctor, they told me I was at risk for preeclampsia, something about my fluids. Like, honestly, like, there was just a lot of things I didn't understand, and I wish I would have asked a lot more questions. At first, everything was fine. I didn't have any symptoms for preeclampsia. I didn't have any headaches. I was just nauseous. That was it. I wasn't seeing like little stars. They would ask me about that, or flashing lights. The one thing is that I was super swollen. I'm gonna insert a picture. I was super swollen. My hands, my feet, my nose, my face, my lips. That is one thing though that I miss, pregnancy lips. Like, they were so luscious and nice. That was my main symptom, was being swollen. But because being swollen is also just a part of pregnancy, it was hard to differentiate that between just being pregnant and having preeclampsia, because I wasn't getting headaches and I wasn't seeing flashing lights. But I just have never really ever gotten headaches. Like, I don't really get them that often. It wasn't until the day that I had Eliza that they told me I basically had preeclampsia. The last 2 weeks of my pregnancy, my blood pressure was elevated. A normal blood pressure, I think, is like 120/80. Correct me if I'm wrong. And it was like 145/, like 90 or something. So it was definitely elevated and was high, but it wasn't like super high. And they were like, okay, if it continues to be elevated, we're gonna have to schedule for a C-section. So they did actually schedule me for a C-section for March 23rd. That was a Monday. But I didn't make it until that Monday. So what happened was, I was checking my own blood pressure. It was the Wednesday before that Monday, and I checked my blood pressure. It was 165/101. I'm gonna find a picture and I'm just gonna put it here. I just remember it was super high, and I called my doctor and I just knew he was gonna tell me to go to the hospital. So I packed all of my stuff. I had nobody to take me. I didn't even have my car. I called Cesar's dad to take me, and I was still on the phone with the doctor, and he was like, yeah, go to the hospital. I already knew. So I go to the hospital. They connect me to everything. Cesar shows up, and my blood pressure is like 150 something when I get there. And then once I sit down in the bed and they connect me to all the monitors and everything, it was like 145, and it stayed at 145. Like, it was still clearly elevated, and I was clearly at risk for preeclampsia. So they're like, oh, like, you're fine, like, you're healthy, like your blood pressure's going down, don't worry. The doctor comes in and he's like, hey, so, you know, as much as we both want you to have this baby, in Maryland, it's illegal to have a baby before 39 weeks or for the hospital to induce you if it's not an emergency. So I was like, okay, like, is this not an emergency? Like, my blood pressure's high, like, And at this point, I had forgotten about the preeclampsia, because I thought, I was like, okay, I'm just at risk. Like, I don't actually have it. Like, it's just my blood pressure. Like, I'm probably just nervous, or like have a lot of anxiety or something. I don't know. They send me home. They just send me home, and I'm like, okay. The next day is my appointment at my high-risk doctor. And I go in, they check my blood pressure, it's elevated again, And just with her seeing that it's elevated, she's like, okay, yeah, you have preeclampsia now, and you're super swollen. And I hadn't been to this doctor in like 2 weeks, and it was within those 2 weeks that I was only seeing my OBGYN, and you know, they're not high risk doctors, so I guess, I don't know, I guess they didn't know or something. I don't fucking know. See, these are things like I know to look out for in the future for future pregnancies. She's like, yeah, this baby had to be born already. And she kind of starts freaking out. Well, not freaking out, but she's like, yeah, like, you need to have this baby. And I'm like, okay, like, and I start freaking out too. And by then I had already placed my Starbucks order to pick up on my way home. So she does an ultrasound, and she's like, oh my God, this baby's huge. She's like 9.5 pounds. Like, she's gonna be a 10-pound baby. Like, how does that feel? And I'm like, okay. So then she connects me to the little monitor to check my contractions, and I'm literally contracting, and she's like, congratulations, you're in labor, like, you're gonna have this baby. Oh my goodness, do you feel those contractions? And when I kid you not, I felt absolutely nothing. Like, not even like a pinch. Like, I felt nothing. Like, I was having contractions, but literally felt like I was not opening up. Like, I literally felt like, if anything, I felt stiff. Like, the thing about me is I didn't walk throughout my whole pregnancy. I worked from home. I did my internship from home. I was like doing all of my classes through Zoom. So I was always at home. So then I call Cesar, and I'm like, okay, like, I'm actually gonna have this baby. So then I tell the doctor about what happens the day before, how they sent me home, and she's like, oh, they're stupid. Like, she literally said they're stupid. I'm like, but I'm worried if I go, they're gonna send me home again. And she's like, I'm your high risk doctor. If I'm telling them you're having this baby, then you're having this baby. And I was like, okay, whatever you say, ma'am. Okay. So I'm just in the room connected to the monitor, and I'm like calling my mom, calling Cesar, calling my cousin Kaylee, calling my friends. And I'm like, okay, like, I'm actually gonna have this baby. And she's on the phone with the hospital, the doctor, telling them that I'm gonna go in, and basically telling them that I have to be induced. Keep in mind, by this point, I was dilated 1 centimeter for 2 weeks. So at this point, I'm already anticipating like having a C-section, because I just wasn't like dilating, and I was about to be 39 weeks. And I know everyone's body is different, but I just, like, I had that feeling that my body was, and it wasn't even because I was scared of giving birth or anything. I just felt my body wasn't opening up. I was jumping on this pillow. I was jumping on the big bouncy ball. I was doing exercises. I mean, I wasn't walking or exercising the way I was supposed to, which is mainly falls back on me. But I just kind of knew at that point that it was going to be really hard for me to open up. So I get to the hospital. I had not had anything to eat, nothing. And I just should have picked up my Starbucks. I should have just picked it up and ate it like before I went in, and be like, oh yeah, like, I had Starbucks this morning, like, whatever. I didn't know I was gonna like be induced, whatever. I was freaking starving. So I don't pick up my Starbucks. I should have told Cesar, hey, go pick up the Starbucks, and, you know, or even like, you can eat it. Like, it was already paid for. But at this point, we're both kind of freaking out, thinking I'm gonna be induced in that moment, and I'm gonna have the baby. It's like 9 a.m. on a Thursday. And I get to the hospital. I don't have any of my stuff. I just have my wallet, and I had not shaved my legs. Like, I had shaved, you know, that area. That was it though. Like, my armpits weren't shaved, my arms weren't shaved, my legs weren't shaved. Like, I had not washed it. I was on like 3rd day hair vibes, like greasy as fuck. Like, eyebrows were not done, because I was gonna do all of that during the weekend. Like, I had all of these plans that I was gonna do for the weekend to get ready for my induction on Monday. So I get to the hospital. I have nothing besides my purse. I wait for Cesar outside of the hospital, so my car, I just leave it parked. It's funny because he didn't work that day, and he was like, do you want me to go to you with the appointment? And I was like, no, it's fine. Like, I'm just gonna go. And it was early anyways. So I just parked my car, and I wait for him outside, and my cousin had to go pick him up. Then I wait for him. We go inside, we check in. Cesar orders Chipotle, and I'm like, can you please order me a quesadilla? And he's like, are you sure? Like, you're not allowed to eat. So I didn't eat the whole quesadilla, I ate part of it. And then the nurses were like, oh, have you had anything to eat? And I was like, no, I haven't ate since like last night. I felt so bad doing that, but like I knew they weren't gonna let me eat at this point, and I was starving, like starving. So I'm connected to all of the monitors. They have the IV and everything. So I'm like contracting and they still haven't even induced me at this point. You can see on the monitor my contractions. So they first gave me a pill to induce me and I literally felt nothing, absolutely nothing. I was chilling. So then they put Pitocin in the IV to continue to induce me. First, I didn't really feel anything, and then I started feeling a lot. And at this point, I'm like in pain, and I contracted to 3 centimeters. And I was like that for a few hours without the epidural. And while I was getting those contractions, I had to take a shit. So I go and take a shit literally because I had fucking Chipotle. But I'm so glad I went to the bathroom during my contractions and like in labor. So I went to the bathroom. Cesar helped me get disconnected from everything. The nurse had taught us how to do it, like if I needed to go to the bathroom. I go to the bathroom, everything was fine. I was just in pain from the contractions. Come back, I'm on the monitor, I'm standing in pain. They gave me this ball to like sit on, but like I just didn't know what to do. I was just like walking around, laying down, sitting down, holding Cesar's hand. And there's this one point where he's leaning on the ball that they gave me. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, that's mine. And I was just so mad because he was just like painless and I was in so much pain. So then I'm like, okay, like I'm in pain. They told me they could give me pain medication. So I'm like, I need it. And they put it in the IV, and for like 2 hours I was going in and out. So I was falling asleep because of the pain medication. That I literally, it was crazy. They put it in my IV, I felt it go, and then I was like, I was just dozing off as soon as that hit my body. So for 2 hours, I'm kind of going in and out. I'm falling asleep, and I'm really only waking up when I'm getting contractions. Like, they were still hurting so much. So then once that pain medication wore off, it was already nighttime by then. I had, oh my God, what was the nurse's name? Noelle. Oh my God, shout out to Noelle. The best nurse ever. She has my heart, my soul. She saw me go through it. Noelle was there when I got the epidural. So I get my epidural, and honestly, the contractions were so bad that I didn't feel anything with the epidural. I know the needle is like long as shit. Everyone's like, oh my God, the epidural hurts so much. Aren't you scared of it? Aren't you scared of needles? And then there's other people that are like, you don't need an epidural. Like, you can have it naturally. Like, our body can do this. And I get that. Like, if that's for you, that's for you. But I just knew that wasn't gonna be for me. I'm like, if drugs like epidural exist, then I'm gonna use them. So honestly, the epidural like did not hurt. Like, it hurt, but the contractions hurt so much more that epidural was whatever. The only hard thing is like you have to stay still while you're getting contractions, and the epidural, and the epidural works fine for like an hour, and then and I'm pressing the button that they give you like to I don't know, for like the epidural medication to go in your back or whatever, like if you need more. So I keep pressing it because I start to feel a lot of pain, and I'm like that for like, I don't know, 45 minutes, and then I'm realizing that all of the pain is on my right side. I was completely numb on my left side, and I told them, and Noelle was like putting me on the peanut ball pillow thing. She was putting that in between my legs. She was switching me from side to side to make sure that the epidural was kind of going throughout my whole body and both sides. I'm still feeling a lot of pain on my right side, only on my right side, and nothing on my left side. The anesthesiologist, she comes in and she tries to fix it. And she's like, okay, let me know if that feels any better. Like, I'll be back in like 10 minutes. And it's still the same thing. So then she comes in and she's like, okay, I'm gonna do it again. So she tries to do the epidural again. I didn't know this until like we're already home. Cesar said that she was pushing in the epidural, the needle, and it was not going into my back. Like, she was going like this, like pushing it, and it was not going in my back. So then she like does it all over again with like a whole new kit. I don't know if she told me or not. Like, honestly, I was going through so much pain, I don't even remember, which is probably gonna happen to you guys. Like, so much is gonna happen, and it's gonna happen so quick, and you're gonna be like, what the hell just happened? So then she does it again, and I'm like, okay, like, it has to work now. Like an hour, not even an hour goes by, honestly. It's like maybe 30 minutes. It's the same exact thing, where it was only working on my left side, and I was freaking out. I was like, there's something wrong with me. I forgot to say this, but before I got the epidural, after the Pitocin, they had put a balloon in me. So the Pitocin had only opened me up 3 centimeters. So because of the balloon, that's when I got the epidural, because that's when my contractions started getting super, super, super strong. The balloon opened me up 6 centimeters. And then even with the epidural working and me being through pain and getting contractions and all this stuff, literally hours later, I was still only at 6 centimeters. And at this point, it's like 2 in the morning. Literally hours had gone by of the epidural only working on one side and me getting contractions, and it was already hours where I was only 6 centimeters. And usually I know that they can have you like that for a while, even a couple of days if they're inducing you, just going through all of that pain. But at this point, the doctor was like, okay, the epidural isn't working on you. And then my blood pressure got a little bit elevated, and then the doctor told me, it's up to you. Like, do you want to have a C-section? Do you want to deliver naturally? You want to keep waiting and go through the pain even though the epidural is only working on your right side? And I'm like, I'm gonna get a C-section. And I know for a lot of people it's like, oh my god, a C-section isn't birth, but it is. You go through so much during and after. In any way that you have a baby, you are birthing a baby, okay? And it wasn't because I was scared of like pushing or anything. Like, I was just in so much pain, and like I don't know if you're supposed to feel your body opening, but I don't know what was going on, honestly. I don't know what was going on with my body. Like, I really don't know. So it's like 2 something in the morning, and I'm like, yes, I want a C-section. And at that point they checked my temperature, and I had like a slight fever. So they're like, okay, we're gonna have to have this baby. Literally within the next like 10-15 minutes, she's born. They got me into the surgery room so quickly. Cesar went to go put on his like whole surgery outfit. And then once they put me in the room, they did it was like a spinal injection, so that I really did not feel anything during the C-section. But I'm like, couldn't you guys have given me that instead of the epidural? I'm not sure how that works. I really didn't think about it until way after. I just know that I was in pain. So once they did that spinal thing, immediately I felt absolutely nothing. I lay down. What happened with me was that I was absolutely freezing. My hands were like this. I was laying down. They had a blanket on me, and I was so cold. I know those rooms are cold, but I was freezing. I was shaking. And I wasn't scared of the actual C-section. I was a little anxious because I don't know, like Eliza was gonna come, and I just wanted everything to be okay. And I'm telling you, they cut me up so quick. I didn't feel anything, like nothing. I felt a little pressure of them pushing up here, but that was it. So they cut me, and I feel like them pushing, and they're like, she's born, like she's here. And I'm like, oh my god, that was quick. And I'm like waiting for her to cry, and I'm like, I start getting anxious because I don't hear her crying. And actually I'm gonna insert like live images here of when she was born. She was literally born with her eyes opened. I saw her through the little like clear thing that they had there. Oh my god, like I'm like getting emotional.
Hi, Mama. Hi, Mama. Hi, Mama. I'm just coughing on you. Eyes are open and everything. Congratulations. All right.
It was just such a beautiful moment. Moms, if you know what that moment is like. And I saw her eyes were open, and I saw her little feet. Girl, her toes are so long even now. I was like, that was one of the first things I saw. I saw her face, her eyes were open, and then I saw her feet. And I was like so out of it. I was like, does she have 6 toes? Where I remember when I held her, I had to count her toes, and she had 5. It was fine. Waiting for her to cry, and it felt like forever. Because I was like, oh my God, is everything okay? And then I hear her scream and cry. And then I fall asleep. I immediately fall asleep as soon as she cries. I just knock out. Cesar has a picture of them like holding her next to me while they're like stitching me up and doing all of that, and I'm literally knocked out. And then they like wake me up, and I like see her, and I'm like crying and all this stuff. Honestly, it took them a lot longer to stitch me up than to actually take her out. After that, I was just so exhausted. She was just the cutest thing ever. She was 8 pounds, 7 ounces. I'm gonna put some pictures of when she was born. They took a while to stitch me up, and they were like cleaning her and everything, and they swaddled her, put her in a little hat. Then they transferred me onto another bed that I was gonna be on in the room. They literally lift me up. It was like 3 nurses that literally lift me up and put me on the bed. They take me to the room, and I'm literally holding Eliza right here, and I'm like laying down. I'm gonna post a picture of that too. And they take me to, they didn't take me to my room. They took me to, I forgot the name of the room where you're there first. And then they take you to your room. I'm there for a while, and Eliza's there. They cut her little, Cesar wasn't able to cut her umbilical cord, but he was able to cut a little piece off of it. So I do have a video of that. So be very careful. And then we were there for a little while. They gave me some ice to eat. That was the first thing that I was able to eat. And that was like right after having her, and I was so tired. I literally choked while I was eating the ice, and I felt the pain on my C-section because I started choking and coughing, and I got scared, and it hurt. The C-section hurt a lot. And yeah, that's where Eliza first latched on to my breast. The nurse came up to me and was like, hey, I want to see if she latches on. Like, let's try to get her to latch. I hold her, and she latched on perfectly. The nurse literally started laughing so hard. She said that she had never seen a baby latch on so good and so quickly. And even now that she mostly drinks formula, she latches on so good every time. And one surprising thing about me is I didn't feel my boobs growing at all during pregnancy, that I was like, I'm not gonna have breast milk. And I did. I had a lot. Unfortunately, I dried up, but that's because I didn't know a lot about breastfeeding. Now I do, so I know what to do with my future babies. But yeah, she was really good at breastfeeding. She was a super healthy baby. She did have jaundice while we were at the hospital. They took out some blood, which was so hard seeing them take out her blood because they have to take it out of her little foot, and they're crying so loud. She was under the blue light for 1 night. And yeah, so everything was good. Everything was healthy. We got out of the hospital on a Sunday. Yeah, so I wasn't in there for too long. I recovered pretty quickly. So basically the way the C-section works is that you have to wait 12 hours after you have the baby to get up. And I still had the, what is it called? Like, it helps, it like makes you pee in there. There's a name for it. I just can't remember right now. Catheter? I don't know. Anyways, so yeah, that was still in me. They took that out, and I still had a few more hours to wait to get up. So I waited like 14 hours because I was scared. I got up, and I was so scared, but the C-section itself was painful, but walking wasn't that bad. I was a lot more nervous, and it was a lot less painful than I had anticipated. The actual C-section itself really did hurt, and it was just hard to like do anything, even taking a shower. Picking her up, I couldn't pick her up, like, because I couldn't get fast enough because of the C-section. It was so painful. So Cesar did everything at the hospital. He was changing her diaper, he was picking her up. If I had to breastfeed her, he would wake up, pick her up, and give her to me. So he was super helpful. And not even just at the hospital, the first 2 weeks he was doing all of that for me. I will say though, after the first week, it was a lot easier for me to get up and pick her up. And yeah, I had to wait. Then I had to wait like, I had to wait to fart so that they could feed me. So I'm like walking around so much so that I can get this gas moving. And then I finally passed gas and they gave me food. Hospital food is so fucking gross, but I was just happy to eat anything. But yeah, then we got out of the hospital on Sunday or Monday. I don't remember. It was one of those 2 days. I think it was Sunday. I don't think I was in there for long. So yeah, that's basically how she was born. That is my crazy labor and delivery story. I've seen so many of these videos of people talking about their crazy delivery and labor stories. It's crazy because everyone just has such a unique experience. And yeah, I went home. Eliza was in her little doona. And yeah, that is my labor and delivery story. Postpartum is a whole different thing. I'm still going through it. I am gonna make a video of kind of my first few weeks with Eliza, some things that I used for postpartum, and I'm also gonna make a video about pregnancy, what that was like, and some things that I used for that. But yeah, that is what happened. Thank you guys so much for watching my video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment your labor and delivery stories or any questions that you guys have for me about my C-section and my delivery story. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.